Good afternoon, everybody. This is Lisa Ware, Senior Group Leader. Nice to have you. I know loads of people actually are following up through the YouTube, if not on the link that follows afterwards. It's quite surprising, actually. I see how many do come on. This one today, I decided to do this. I have done it before, but it's a bit of one of those, what I call, it doesn't matter how long you've been in, there are always objections that we come across. And I think a lot of people's fear is all about what if. I think the word if is one of the worst words in the English language. It's small, but it actually is a word that brings about fear. Oh, what if they ask me this? What if they ask me that? So first of all, I want to dispel that you are only ever a phone call away from somebody for help. All right, that's the first thing to know. And for example, today I've had Rod ask me a question through one of the groups and I've sort of replied back. I try to be as quick as I can answering people's questions, because things like objections are not necessarily the stuff of phone a friend. They're there to answer sort of to do with customer and technical stuff like that, whereas this is all very subjective. So I'm going to start off with something that I believe to be really true, and I wonder if you feel the same way. Is it just me that really knows that the British are generally negative? I feel that they're a right negative bunch. Now, I think I've worked this out why. It's usually because they've been sadly susceptible to being conned before. Something in the past has gone wrong for them, and what they're doing is kind of protecting themselves, believing that, well, if I just stay as I am, you know what, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Does anyone else think that that might come into play? Yeah, absolutely. But the trouble is, when you stay with the devil, it's not very good a lot of the time. And these devils called suppliers, as we know, they don't offer much loyalty. In fact, in the past, I stayed with a certain car insurance company for my insurance on my Range Rover. And then this happened 2 years ago. And then all of a sudden I got a letter from them, and this is relevant. And it said, your make and model of Range Rover, we are no longer going to insure. Well, you could have knocked me down with a feather. This won't affect your 9 years no claims or anything like that, but we're not insuring them anymore because they're high risk. And I'm thinking, what? Anyway, what happened was it forced me to jump out of my comfort zone and to go on one of these search engines. And I went on the Meerkats. I forget what it's called. Compare the Market. Meerkat, yeah, I think it's that one. And I went on and I had to do all the stuff you had to do, which to me is just a bore, a bind, and time consuming. And there's nobody to talk to, which I hate. You've got to fill in all this information and it's like, gosh, it takes time. Now, to cut a long story short, what transpired was up came Churchill, amongst a few others. Now, Churchill wasn't the cheapest. I kind of went third down. But what happened was I saved just under £600 a year from who I'd been with before. Can you imagine that? I was gobsmacked. And it kind of made me realise staying with a company does not necessarily mean you're getting loyalty. And I used to ring them up. I did used to threaten to leave. Oh, and they'd knock a few quid off. But all of a sudden, there I was now saving myself a fortune. So I would say, I don't know if you can remember that little story I've just told you. It is true, but it's a great story to tell people that feel they're frightened of leaving. And Stephen Longworth says, people relate to stories. You can say, I've got a friend, and it's a great analogy to express why maybe staying with a company for years has not proffered them good service, good prices. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, the other thing I'm also going to say to you about the British being negative is I think they're just defending themselves, and that's fair enough. Yeah, they're just, oh, who's this person? You know, you could be on one of these stands and I'm sure they're in their mind, they're going, oh, what are they trying to sell me? What they don't realize is we're the only stand that when you come over, it'll be the first time in their lives they're getting the chance of better customer service, simpler billing, and they're actually going to be paying less. We're going to be giving them money back. But they don't know that. They have no idea of that. I'll give you an idea, another analogy. Ask a Brit, what do you think of the British weather? Now, what I'm going to do is help you realise it's all about language. Ask them, what do you think of the British weather? Shall I tell you what their answer will be? Oh, it's always raining, it's cold, it's damp, it's cloudy. Oh, gosh, it's awful. And I'm really fed up with it. Now, the same question, but different. Ask them, so what do you like best about the British weather? And what you'll probably find is you'll get something like, oh, I love the changing seasons. I love the variety. Oh, and we do live in mostly a lovely green land, don't we? Oh, and there's no worry about volcanoes and earthquakes. Now, what I've done is procured them to get their minds to think positive. Right? Now, that's what this is about. We've got to help people think positive. When generally speaking, they're feeling negative. Why are they feeling negative? Oh, come on, guys. I mean, I don't watch it. I've only got to listen on the radio for 5 minutes to the news, and it's enough to make you want to shut the doors from the world, isn't it? It's full of fear-mongering. And you know what? Why wouldn't the British public actually be defensive when they're being battered at every single point with negative stuff? Okay. So what I'm trying to say is it's about asking the right questions to help people to tap into the positive side of their generally socially induced negative thinking to then procure a positive response. Okay, and I see some nodding going on. Right. So now let's think about negatives. Let's think about them. So let's talk about, first of all, typical customer objections. Okay. Have you ever done, have you ever shown somebody something? Have you ever spoken to them? Have you ever done an appointment and they say to you, oh, and you've shown them hundreds of pounds of savings? Have they ever said, I need to think about that? Is it just me? You know, in my heart, I'm saying to myself, you need to think about that. What with? But you don't say that. You don't say that. Okay. So you could be really open and just say, so what is it in particular that I obviously haven't answered for you? Now, they're not expecting that. They won't expect that to come back to them. So you then can say, well, if I resolve that question, would you then be interested in spending less on your services, have them all on one simple bill, and now start to experience really good UK-based customer service? A company that's really transparent with no long-term contracts. Do you want to give it a try? Yeah. you could say to them, if they say, I want to think about it, say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is, Lisa, get out of here. I'm not interested. And 10, what are you messing around at? This is amazing. I love the idea of saving £800 a year. Sign me up. Ask them, and this is straight out of Mr. Critchley's mouth, ask them, where are they? Do you know what? They won't expect that. Now, they could say something like 6. Say, okay, then I definitely haven't answered everything for you. Come on, fire it at me. What is it you want to know? What is it that's troubling you? Now, that shows interest. Okay, it's not being confrontational. It's actually showing interest. And yes, you probably in your heart are thinking, oh, I can't say that. But actually, those are the things that matter, because that's caring about somebody. If you just leave it as it is, well, actually, do you know what? That means you're indifferent. And indifference is not good. All right. That means you don't care. Yeah. So think about the way to answer things. Has anyone ever said to you, I've never heard of Utility Warehouse? Mm-hmm. Do you know what? I support all the time. And I can tell you now, that is predominantly, I would say, 8 out of 10 still. And I'll say to them, do you know what? That's perfectly normal. Now, I want to share this with you, the psychology here. Out there, most people want to be like most people. They think they're in their comfort zone. All right. And what they don't want to feel is that they are outside of that comfort zone. So you've got to help them realize, well, actually, what they've just asked is perfect. Yeah, that's perfectly normal. By and large, my answer always is, look, only up until recently, UW just didn't waste, great phrase, didn't waste customers' money on all that marketing, you know, TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, outbound calling, junk mail, billboards, buses, taxis. They didn't do that. Recently, they've done a bit of a marketing awareness, and I believe they are still occasionally on Heart FM and they're on Classic FM, because we all listen to those stations, don't we? And they have been in the Times. Yeah, they've been in the Times. But say to them, no, that's normal. And they'll say, well, I've had people say that's ridiculous. Why not? And I'll say, well, have you got any idea how much a prime time advert costs? You know, one of those adverts between 6 and 8. Do you know it's a minimum of £10 million? That's a lot of customers' money being wasted. And here's something for everyone to think on. Octopus have been really, really clever. They have done a serious advertising campaign. They've actually only been going 5 years. And yet the perception is they're a big company, been around for donkey's years. No, they haven't. And at this moment, they're being fined £4.5 million for misbilling. Okay, so actually you have to then say to people, just because they're well known, does it make them good? Pose a question back, help them start thinking differently. Because people think if it's on the TV, if I'm hearing it, then that, oh my gosh, you know, that's as good as the Bible. No, it's not. Just because it's advertised doesn't mean it's good. Yeah. So again, helping you think differently. You could also answer with, well, look, I know you've not heard of them, and that's normal. And they've been working through recommendation. But do you know what? They've got over 80 awards with Which. Have you heard of Which? Ask them. And then I always say, do you know, they are like the consumer's Bible. They are the UK's independent consumer organisation where people go to find out what they need to know. And then I say to them, the problem with Which is you have to subscribe £10 a month to find out what you want to know. So they've got over 80 endorsements. That is crazy stuff. I can tell you for a fact, 17 years, best energy. 12 years best broadband, 5 years best mobile. That's some seriously good endorsements. And say to them, but you've not heard of them. And probably you haven't subscribed to which. So that is perfectly normal. Okay, so just let them sort of realize that actually advertising isn't always the main. Has anyone ever said to you, so how much will I save? You've been out and about. How much will I save? Just like that. I've had people say, what's your kilowatt rate? Anyone else get those questions? I absolutely laugh. In fact, I had one gentleman up north who accused me of mis-selling because I couldn't tell him what the kilowatt rate was for our gas and electric. And he said, you should know. I said, no, I shouldn't know. I'll tell you why. Because every region has got different prices. There are different regions for energy and they've got different prices. Also, with Utility Warehouse, when you take 3 services, you get the UK's cheapest energy. If you take 2 services, you're still going to be absolutely in there with the very best. But if you ask me individually what the price is, no, I don't know, because I let the company provide the information. Now, look, why don't I come and see you, show you everything? This is what I say to folk. Let me come and show you everything. You then have got all the information and you can make a proper informed decision. It's called giving them the power which they want to feel. Yeah, a proper informed decision. And I find that that is a great way to close getting an appointment. All right. So, has anyone ever asked what happens when my phone line goes down? Have you ever had that? That one's always made me smile. I've said to them, well, it doesn't matter who you're with. Openreach are the engineers for the network, and exactly the same applies as to who you're with now. It's no different. The only difference is you'll get better customer service because you're going to ring a UK-based call centre based in London, and it will happen faster than if you're with BT and they're, I think, somewhere like the Philippines at the moment. Virgin are out in Pakistan. It's quite interesting, actually, how the other companies work. Okay, so what other kinds of things? Right, typical customer objections. Oh, well, I've got TV and broadband and phone with Sky. I always say, fantastic. As soon as they say it, I go, fantastic. Because with Sky, even if you only signed up a month ago, the largest exit fee to leave them is £165 on phone and broadband, and your TV package will not increase. All right, so if you still want your TV, it won't increase. Great news. Utility Warehouse give you up to £400 to pay off those contract fees. How good is that? You've now managed to just get rid of that one. If they say they're with Virgin, I don't know if all of you are aware, Virgin have just kind of done a buyout with O2. And Virgin now, broadband and mobiles, is now with O2. It's not with who it used to be, which was EE. Don't know if you're aware of that. And they do have 2 separate bills now, Virgin, TV, and they have different for their broadband. All right. So a similar thing applies with Virgin. Really good news. In fact, I just signed someone up earlier on. They were with Virgin and in exactly that situation. All right. So a similar thing. Right. What about distributor partner objections? Oh, come on. Let's get the big one out. Let's get it out. Does anyone else still get, sounds like a pyramid to me? Now, look, there are so many ways you can answer this. You could be facetious and you could say, like I do, oh, well, I used to be in the biggest pyramid. It was the police. There was a chief constable, 2 ACCs, chief inspectors, sergeants, Tesco's, pyramid, teaching organisation, headmaster, assistants. Everything is that structure. But that's not what they mean. All right. What they mean is they've heard something negative about pyramid. Okay. And they don't know what it is. So here's the great way to answer it. Ask them, do you know what a pyramid is? Throw it back and they won't know. I promise you, they won't have a clue. So you can then say to them, and this is exactly the right answer, right? Yes, pyramid selling, as it was known, used to be around, but it was made illegal in 1987 in this country. It doesn't exist. It was predominantly known because of a company called Amway. And basically what used to happen when a distributor recruited another distributor, they used to get a nice big fat lump sum of money with no incentive to help somebody build that business. This is not the case with UW. And I tell people happily, I say, do you know what I love about UW? When somebody comes in and they want to say that I want to earn an income, this is an absolutely financially risk-free business. It's fantastic. And I don't earn a single penny by you joining. In fact, I don't earn any money until I help you and support you and coach you to earning money. And then I earn a very small royalty off your customers. Isn't that great? We also earn some other bonuses, like we get supporting bonuses for helping people, but nothing is handed to us for you joining. And anyway, for £10, oh my God, what, 90 days, £10, give it a try. Is it not worth it for a risk-free opportunity? One that has been endorsed and been in the Times newspaper and Times magazine. Is that something, do you think, a British PLC listed on the FTSE 250 with all its books available for people to see, do you really think that something like that would be involved in anything illegal? And then I get close and personal with them. And I say to them, listen, I'm under the Official Secrets Act for life because I've been a police officer. Do you really think I would get involved in anything illegal 20 years in? Do you not think by now I would have found something wrong? Yeah, so there you are. And you can actually say to them, I think a great endorsement is there are loads and loads of professionals. We're talking police officers of every rank, teachers of every rank, IFAs, mortgage advisors. We're talking professionals and accountants. Do you think these people would in the slightest want to affect their current employment? No. That is a very good answer to give. All right, so that one dispels that one. So someone says to you, I'm not a salesperson. I can't do that. I say, great, because we don't want salespeople. It's totally different. We want people that are able to ethically recommend something because they know it to be good and true. In fact, salespeople struggle with this. Supposing they turn around and say, oh, is this sales? Yeah. Are you into sales? Yeah. Great, you'll love this then. Doesn't matter which way you do it, you can answer it. Great, you'll love this then. Because if you believe you can and you can't, you're right. Has anyone ever brought in a professional? And I'm on about professionals, and I'm on about IFAs that I usually find can't get out of their way. Don't generally do that well. And yet, stay-at-home mums juggling kids, part-time jobs and everything. Do you know, amazingly, they do so well at this. Isn't that fascinating? And in fact, in every walk of life, you'll have some that manage to make it work and some that won't. So when someone says, oh, what kind of guarantees can you give me? And I'll say, well, I can't, because actually everybody starts with the same toolbox. Everyone has the same training. Everyone's got the same. But in life, it's all about you and your determination and whether or not you want to make something happen. You know, I constantly say, and if you've ever been to one of the buzzes, you'll hear me say, especially when Rob is with me, you'll hear me say, I am so indebted and so glad that Rob introduced me to this. And he will always turn around and say, but Lisa, you got up and made it work. Yeah, because at the same time when I joined, I can tell you, there were names that were around then that I was in awe of, complete in awe, but they've all fallen by the wayside, lots of them. And that's because some people are just, they don't focus. I listened to what I call the top leaders. I'm on about Steve Critchley. I'm on about Steph Longworth, Wes, Robin. Right, I've listened to them, and every one of them says you've got to focus. You can't be chasing two rabbits because you'll end up with none. Yeah, and I actually believe that to be true entirely. And also to share something with you, this is amazing, but my accountant, who's an ex HMRC tax inspector, a chartered accountant, when I first went to him about this, he turned round and he actually grabbed a couple of books off his shelf, and they were about network marketing. And he turned around and said to me, network marketing works if you work, but most people give up in the first year or two. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So there are so many ways to be able to explain to people. What about someone that turns around and says to you, oh, I'm far too busy, I don't have time? Isn't that usually one of the biggest reasons that they say, I can't do this? Well, actually, I don't believe it. It's about choices and about your time. Because if you do the 168 hours in the week that we all have, take off sleep time, take off full-time work, take off shopping, cleaning, and all of that, most people have still got 40, 50 hours plus left in that week. It's just how they decide to use it. So if somebody says to you, I can't find 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week, they're lying. It's just that they choose not to. Okay. When I started this, I was working full time, and that was 66 hours that I was literally out of the house. I was also doing the typical parent after school stuff, which was swimming lessons, dance classes, piano lessons, and all that stuff. I was a permanent taxi driver for a couple of hours, and I still found time to do this with three daughters. It's all about what we want out of it. And I'm very glad that I bothered to stick at it, and I didn't let the naysayers take me away. And I've had many, many people offer me many other things. In fact, I nearly on a weekly basis, I am constantly got at through emails and various, offering me all sorts of other, what I call sparkly things to take me away. But I haven't, because I know that in comparison, and yes, this is not perfect, where there's humans, nothing is perfect. Things go wrong, as Wes says, the broadband sometimes doesn't go live. All this stuff happens, but in the scheme of things, actually, Utility Warehouse comes out tops. And the reason being, we haven't got to buy product and convince people to buy that product in financially stressed times. You know, aloe vera is great stuff, but it does cost a lot. And you're asking someone to buy something, and already their budget is being squeezed beyond. Whereas with this, what we're saying to someone is, I haven't got to convince you to use gas and electric, phone and broadband, mobile. You're already using it. What I'm going to say to you is, come and have simpler billing. Come and have amazing customer services, and now transfer your spend to always pay less. To me, that's an absolute winning formula. Okay, so look, guys, that is half an hour and it's gone just like that. Has anybody got any other questions or objections they'd like to ask me? Or have I dumbfounded you all? Yes, go on, Lindsay.
And just at the moment, prices, our gas prices, our energy prices are quite competitive, but they're not there's not that much of a saving. So how can we persuade people to switch to UW when the immediate savings are sometimes not there? That it's marginal at best sometimes. Should we be focused on value rather than price?
Lindsay, I don't know who you're speaking to, because I'm not finding that. I'm finding hundreds of pounds.
Really? Okay.
Because I will not, Rod, I will never quote on energy only, ever, because I don't think energy only. I am always saying this is a discount club. Let me show you what's best. And then I'm finding that these companies, in fact, lots of people, we are dropping that energy by a few £100. Quite amazing. I did one today and they were really financially aware. They were with Shell, they were with Virgin, and they were with Vodafone. And they actually, I want to share this, they were actually paying less for the Vodafone. And I convinced him to go with our unlimited, which was going to cost him, wait for it, £7 a month more than he was paying. How did I do that? Because I said if he added that mobile in, the phone and broadband came down, and he was happy with the 2160 because they weren't gaming or doing anything like that. Then the gas electric came to the cheapest. They got the 150 boost. They couldn't get £50 for a smart meter because they've already got smart meters. But when I explained and I showed my bills with the cashback, they agreed, actually, they could use this a lot. And they agreed with me. Do you know what? The reality is he probably was never going to pay for his mobile now, ever. And in that first year with the 150, it was virtually wiping it out anyway. So it's helping people see differently. Yeah. And I very rarely, I can't even remember the last time I signed somebody up for energy only. Honestly, I don't know when it was. It was years ago. All right, guys, I'm going to say bye because I've now got to get myself and I've got to get into work mode because we've got to go and set up the Gillingham and Shaftesbury show stand. And we have to get there. We've got an A350 that's shut, so we've got to do a detour and we've got to get up, set up and everything by 8 o'clock. So guys, I'm going to go. See you all next week, same time, same place. Lovely to have you. And this will be recorded. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.